I sign up, I went to DC, you can sign up for email virtual anywhere. I get like, Ranger in Essex County had the air force on me. You know what I mean? Like, all these, I get a weekly email and all those. I'm just interested in different things, like I did. It is actually quicker. That's what I do at elementary school. You just went out and around the school and look for these birds. They can send in a certificate and this and that. You know, deal, but it was like, the kids were really good. It was like a free program. And that's just because I'm interested in outside, being out there, nature.
What do you do anything without the cabinet?
Well, can we start before this is recorded?
He knows. He was trying to download some things. I don't know. He was running around with a thumb drive. It did. I got him earlier.
You want to sit here to plug in?
What are you doing?
Oh, I didn't know if you wanted to.
It's good. You okay?
Okay, you ready to go, or give you a minute to
Oh, good.
set up? Okay, we're going to begin the second of our series of 3 budget workshops. We're going to begin with Michelle Martinelli.
Okay, and while Paul is getting himself together, so Paul, I think this question is best for you. We're going to do Michelle, we're going to do these two gentlemen, somebody else. Then we do approps tonight? What are we going to do?
Do what? Have what?
We're going to do, we're going to do revenues tonight?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, when are we
We
going to
can.
do revenues?
Yeah, we can do that.
And we can do it as we go. I mean, some of the stuff, I'm going to ask the question in the course of their thing, but do we need a separate thing on revenue? I mean, there seems like there's a lot of things that fall outside of just Michelle Martinelli, right?
Yeah.
Just
And she does
these,
that.
the guys.
We could do the associated revenues now.
All right, well, so we can get through the department heads, but I'm just, things that are sticking in my head that aren't getting, we didn't talk about. You offered last week. I'm not saying you didn't offer, but
No, I know.
I'm trying to figure out the best way to move forward with this.
It makes sense to do revenues, that are, fall within Michelle's responsibility now while
Okay.
she's here.
All right.
Although we haven't traditionally involved department heads that, significantly on revenue projections.
Well-
If there's, if there's something she can add or you want to discuss, she's here.
Okay. I think it was more big picture, but happily to talk about dog licenses too. So, all right, what page are we starting on, Paul?
1410 on page 4.
So there's an increase in the personal services line. There's an increase in the auditing line, which is minimal. It's, but from 18 actual to this. So Paul, you're probably best.
Where-
Certainly the auditing line, so,
Where are you?
is that the auditor? That's a
No,
separate?
we're on, just on 1410 on the bottom of the
Or
page.
just 1410? Okay.
Page
Bottom
4.
of the
All right.
page.
So Michelle, more part-time, less full-time?
The, and there was, in talking to Michelle, we did move some of her full-time people between the town clerk and records management and registrar of vital statistics, not the split to the special districts, that separate allocation, but within her department, she had given me an update as to how people are more, are being used now
Yeah.
that she has 3 full-time people and,
Well, no, I have
what?
one full-time and one part-time.
Oh, I'm sorry, 2.
Yeah.
2
And you,
full-time.
Two.
and he's counting you.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay.
Are you going to give us the special district split out, Paul?
You did ask for that, and I haven't done it yet, and yes, I will.
Okay. So
There's no, the
the
salary.
bottom line number doesn't change, but she's just
Correct.
shifting money from part-time to
Yes.
full-time.
Correct. There's normal steps
Full-time.
for the people that, there's only one individual, actually, that's on the graded, the step salary schedule.
So last year, you had a couple of capital requests, Michelle, that came in kind of late in the budget process.
Yeah,
Um,
there's nothing this year.
Okay.
No.
Um,
Some of the things we did lower. Yeah, we did.
Your equipment outlay?
And those were all things that you
Yeah,
you lowered them?
Yeah,
I know some department heads we sat with and went through their budgets. I don't know if you got a meeting like that as well.
we did,
but-
yes.
Okay.
I did just this week receive a notification from MailWorks, and I have to talk to Michelle about it, about the change in their operations, and it sounded a little, it was hard to really fully understand without calling them, but there's a possibility that they may not be doing all that we want them to do, but in the future, so that's got to be
Really?
worked out.
Okay,
Possibility, I couldn't, it wasn't a real clear memo. They're working more with electronic files and doing less folding and stuffing, and, but it's something we need to look at.
okay. Is that going to
It could
possibly
impact, yeah, it
increase
could
that?
impact,
We may have to increase that.
we may have to go elsewhere, and it could impact that, the billing line.
Yeah, for yard waste we're talking about.
When will we know that?
As soon as I or Michelle calls them.
Yeah,
and-
I'll give them a call. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I'll give you a copy of the letter, just got
Okay,
it.
good, all right.
So they're doing the folding and the stuffing of those bills?
Yeah, I would send them the electronic file. They would print the bills, they would fold them, stuff them, and mail them for the yard waste.
Do you do that for the dog licenses as well and the other license, or who does that? You do it in-house?
We do it in-house. yeah.
Because
Yeah,
it's just a
It's
few.
just a small amount.
Yeah.
And do you have your own folding equipment?
I do not.
You don't? Well, we have that here.
There's some throughout town hall. I have a pressure folder sealer for paychecks and accounts payable, but there's some older folder sealers around. If we were gonna get into that business, we'd probably buy a new one. They're not that expensive, just a basic folder. But they do folding, they have
Right, they
Big
have big
operation.
equipment, they do
Yeah,
it
yeah.
a lot, right? But,
fold stuff, seal, put the postage on, they do all that.
well, that some might have to get looked into depending on if they're planning on changing their fees
Yeah.
and increasing.
Yeah, I'm hoping we're good, but I just wanna,
All right, we'll look into
Mention it.
that tomorrow.
Is the postage included in this line?
no.
No, that's a different line. Where would that be?
That's under postage 16, on page.
That's postage that covers the whole town.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, 1670 on page 6, 28,000. So if we're through with town clerk, next would be.
Okay, that's
record-
under shared
Any
services.
other,
Thank
Any
you.
other-
Any other questions on town clerk section?
No, we could do records management, I just
Yep,
then, are
that's-
we
yep,
going to do?
That's on page 5.
So that looks pretty
Yeah,
straightforward.
that's
Okay.
held. And then on page 8, we have vital statistics. Registrar. And that's pretty much the same, we just have some increases. Miscellaneous and contractual and service on equipment. We have to keep servicing our typewriters. Yes, we still use typewriters.
And Michelle just got a new copier,
We have a new copier.
a like new copier,
Yeah.
that I think she's happy with.
Yes, we're very
Great.
happy with that.
Okay. That's all I have, I don't know. So does Michelle, obviously she collects fees.
Yeah. I foresee the fees with birth certificate request increasing because of the upcoming with motor vehicles and their enhanced
The star,
Real
yeah.
ID, yeah.
Mhm.
We have really, there's a lot of requests for them that we've gotten.
So, Paul, is that taken into account here?
I didn't know anything about that, and.
So do you have a number that you think is associated with that, Michelle? Can we get that number?
I can try based on, I mean, we have birth certificates back from 1942. So all those people that are still driving or have a non-driver ID, they have a choice to get this real ID or just use a passport. But in order to travel within the United States, they need something, and they need to produce a birth certificate. So that's a lot.
What would your recommendation be in terms, and I know this is something we talked about last year as well. What would be your recommendation in terms of the fee increase to handle the workload associated with this?
I honestly don't think there should be a fee increase.
Okay, I thought that's what you
the-
just said. I'm sorry, I misunderstood you.
No, no, no.
Well, the
I'm just
volume.
saying
You're
that the
talking volume
volume, the volume increase, but I thought you were talking the revenue coming in from that.
From the volume increase.
So the revenue is
Yeah.
from the volume?
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Can you check most of your fees with your other colleagues in neighboring towns and counties? I mean, I
When
know
it-
you're head of the association.
When it
so-
comes to the birth certificates?
Yeah.
Or any
You
of them?
can't
He's
really-
ask- He's
Any
asking you
fees,
any
I
of them.
guess.
Yeah, birth certificates we can't compare, because as a town, I'm the only there's maybe 3 birthing hospitals in a town in New York State, so we can't really compare too much there. As for the plumbing registrations, some towns do have basically the same fee, but if you don't pay the fee by a certain date, there
Fine.
is you have to pay it, like $50 more, or something like that.
Sure.
That's something that we can look at. Also with dog licenses,
Yep.
we're a little higher
A
than
little
most.
higher.
Yeah. So I wouldn't increase that at all. I don't know if you want to consider that. The dog park, we can look at doing something there.
No, just asking general purpose question to,
Yeah.
make sure that our fees
We
are in line.
do talk about things like that at our meetings.
So what revenue line would encompass the vital fees, the fees for the certificate?
On 17, under town clerk fees,
Okay, so the top,
yeah.
all right.
So it was kept flat.
So we could look at just truing up that figure to our anticipated volume.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but in 18, the actual was 13, and then we went to 25. So what is that, Paul? And I've seen that in a few different places.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look in 18, I see that too.
Right. Alarms are the same. So I'd like a,
That's a substantial.
I'd like a better handle on that, where I look from 18 to what we're looking to do in 20. Okay? If we can get that at some point.
Mhm. Mhm. Talking about that? What you-
I know Michelle had questions about, what do you have questions, yard waste?
Yeah, is anything going to happen there?
Well, there's an increased projection, so that's gonna require an increased fee,
Okay,
unless we expand the town.
it's not gonna happen.
Oh, no, can't do that. And as I pointed
So,
out.
so the number that I see there that's substantially higher for yard waste fee is for yard waste collection in the revenue section. So that's in anticipation of a fee, fee increase to the yard waste. I just want to be clear on that.
It is, and actually, it was in the 19 budget. I know we had that conversation before, and I think, I don't recall the sequence of events, but I remember discussion about it, and at one point, the town board wasn't in favor of it, but it did make it in the budget, the fee increase, and we're gonna be short on that.
Right, because we didn't raise the
We
fee
didn't
on the
raise the
people,
fee.
so that's, and I don't know what
So
to
it's
say, but
kept
we were
flat,
opposed to
but
that.
It's kept flat for 20, but the fee wasn't increased, so to make that number, we would have to raise the fee. It hasn't been raised in, I think, 5 years now,
3?
and it was only raised once since we started it.
Mm-hmm.
Salaries go up every year.
So what's the proposal from the two of you on
Um,
what the increase?
and we'd have to do an analysis, but it's at least $5.
Do we know what the participation rate is in the town with collection of,
It's
people that
increased.
participate?
It's increased from the people who,
70% of
I
people?
think probably Ray might have a better answer on that, I
80%?
don't know.
It was a little higher than, well, it was down a little from last year, right, this year?
A little bit.
no,
No.
no, not that, it's up.
Oh, you mean the percentage? Oh,
People who
People
are get the
participating,
permit.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely up.
It's up.
Yeah.
From when we first started, it's definitely up.
Percentage that opted in was up.
Up.
Yes.
Yeah. I think we do have more properties that we're billing.
Yeah.
Few
Great.
more.
So Paul, for the next meeting, can you give us more of an analysis of this?
I can-
Because
I can-
obviously,
I
we
can
were
get you
very
numbers.
proactively
Right.
telling you that we didn't want to increase the yard waste fee last time. I
Right.
think we were all in agreement of that.
And I'll point out again that the fee we're getting does not cover the cost of the yard waste. I've worked with Ray and his predecessor, and it's not enough. So you end up having people that are opting out, paying the difference, basically.
Well, was the intent for the fee to cover the whole thing?
Well, if you're opting out, I would think you might think you were opting out of the whole fee. And not just opting out of part of
There's
it.
people who use less money. I mean, there's a lot of things that go on.
When you analyze that, did you back out the fall loose leaf and brush?
Yeah, we don't include that.
We don't-
That's
That's
No,
not
I
in our
understand, I
number.
understand that, but when you did your calculations,
Yeah.
you were able to back out those,
right.
break it down to just,
Just the loose leaf, yeah, the bagged and.
Bagged.
Yeah.
And brush.
Mm-hmm. But if you don't, if you don't want to raise it, we just I'd drop that number back, to have it realistic.
Michelle has an exact number. 'cause
Yeah, I can
she
get it.
knocked out list.
So if we could
Yeah.
get that, that'd be great.
Yep, I'll get that for you.
Thank you.
And I had also questioned about raising the plumber's registration. And also, I also have to send out the garbage haulers by the 1st of December so they can renew in time. So I was wondering if you were considering.
Yeah, I wasn't sure when I saw that increase in the revenue from the loose brush ball, the yard waste, if haulers were in there as well.
No,
Did
they
you
fall
increase
under-
the haulers?
I didn't.
Rate? Okay.
No. That would be under your town clerk fees, are they? Or-
I do take those fees in, yes.
So they're in that first number, we looked at the 25,000. And I don't know that that would be a significant source of revenues, or what is it now, 250 for the first truck and so much for the second? And I don't know if there's
75.
more than a dozen, 15 trucks,
There's 5 companies.
5 companies.
But we don't have any total
per truck.
trucks.
You know, you'd have to raise it significantly to get into the, thousands of dollars, I think.
Right, and then they'll just raise that rate.
You might pick up a couple thousand by raising it 20%.
All right, I just wanted to know, because those letters have to go out.
And then the plumber fee we did have Laura in for a meeting, but I don't recall her requesting to raise that. Matt, I don't think talked about raising the plumber fee, so I don't know if they requested that. Did you build a fee increase
No.
for the plumbers in there?
No,
Okay. Did you, I know at one point you had hoped to be able to have some sort of registration for tree removal services
Yeah,
to get a better handle on that. Paul, you had made that suggestion,
Yeah,
I
I'd said
believe,
that,
as a member
sure.
of the tree council.
I think the tree council is in favor of that, just because there's a lot of companies that, may not be in the best interest. Well, I won't say a lot, if you don't ask the right questions, residents could be putting themselves
What's
at
the
risk.
plumber fee?
$100.
Like, for
Thank you.
example, the plumber's fee, ensures they have,
Yeah.
their
Right.
I would want to do it the same.
Right, and that's
with
what's
plumber's
happening. I mean,
registration.
Ray knows better than anybody, we're hearing from people who are saying, the tree, my one property line, it's not really mine, but being torn out in my whole yard. I mean, we've all heard the horror stories, the woman on Van Antwerp. So just trying to get a better handle on it.
And you're protecting the residents, making sure.
Of course, it's a
making sure
consumer
the
protection.
vendor has the proper
The
insurance.
right insurance and everything,
Right,
yeah.
and that's very
Right,
important.
that it's done
So there you go,
safely.
Paul, I'm going to give you one.
And it's revenue.
That one I'm willing, that's my point. That is something that I am willing to contemplate. You can add that to my list of things you can hold me to.
One.
Yes, one, you got one. I've told you for a year, I'm more than willing to contemplate that.
That's
And then I know that I've seen minutes to some meetings about some back and forth on security fees. So I know that's for the chief, but you don't collect it? Where does the security system
I
fee go?
actually collect the fees.
That's what I
But
thought.
then it goes to.
This isn't in here for you.
No.
Oh, the alarm fees.
The alarm
No,
fee, I
alarm
said
fees
security, I
are
meant
not.
alarm. So, but there's a conversation about that because we're doing something different?
Well, it's about the equipment.
There is a
Right.
proposal to do something different,
Okay,
and it would actually reduce the revenue slightly.
that's what it sounded like to me.
Right.
Yes.
But that's not till
All right.
possibly 2021.
Okay, so
Oh,
we have,
really?
Well, yeah, it's going to take a long time to notify all the residents.
Right.
If that's the direction that we go in, to
Okay.
not monitor with the equipment that's at the UCC.
Right. I think it was about I don't want to quote the number, but there was a reduction in the revenue.
okay. Are we done with Michelle?
I think so.
'Cause we have about
Thank you.
15
Great.
minutes for the big boys. Thanks, Michelle.
Hey, Michelle?
Thanks. Okay. I'm up.
So I guess we, starting at
Is
general.
Lori today too, or is Lori next week?
Start in the general fund under engineering on page 5, center. 1340.
Equipment's going down, why is that?
Because we got a Jeep for the office this year. It was in last year's budget, and we're not buying one next year.
And down, up slightly in personal services.
Yeah, we have Josh, and he came in halfway, or partway through the year last year, so he's here for the whole year now, so just to cover him.
Where to next?
8140.
Yeah, this is shared, right?
10, 11, 12, whoa,
14.
14.
Where are you going? Which one? Storm?
I'm sorry, I'm way off. Yeah. Bottom of 14.
Bottom of 14.
Not very many changes there. And you increase your engineering, is that our salary engineering or outside engineering?
That's outside. It's also for surveying and engineering. Is that highways line?
Which one are you on?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Miscellaneous?
Oh, I'm sorry, that's miscellaneous.
yeah.
It's
Storm sewers.
miscellaneous for the engineering. It's just for tools.
Catch all.
We have a couple of test kits that we want to buy for stormwater sampling.
Okay.
So,
Okay, let me see.
we're gonna go back to storm sewers for Ray as well, is that,
Yeah, that's split.
yeah, I just want to make sure that we get there, okay.
They share.
That they
We
do.
play nicely.
All right, where are we
They
going
play
next,
better-
gentlemen?
They play nicer when we identify their own specific lines.
They do. Thank you. Where are we going, boys?
Next page, 8160 transfers and recycling.
Team?
Okay.
So for 19, we projected disposal fees going up, and then we're requesting them to go up even more in 2020. Is
Yeah,
that
that's-
the trend you
that's-
see?
Yeah, it's recycling. The recycling costs are going up. We used to get paid for our paper. Now we have to pay to get rid of the paper. Has to do with the whole international,
The tariffs on China?
Yep.
yeah. So I don't see it getting any better anytime soon.
So the 18 to 25 seems somewhat in line for you, Matt?
Yeah, so we were at 20 for this year. We're up to 25 for next year.
Right, but what we actually spent in 18, so I'm going to look at,
Oh, okay.
because that's the last number I have, where there's actually spent dollars.
I don't have that in front of me.
What are you asking?
Do you have 2019 actuals?
Do we have 2019 actuals that are just not reflected here?
We're at, well, when this report was run, we were at 12,000, but there was a lag on it. And it's probably through August.
So 12 at a half year, so we'll probably hit that target.
Yeah, it comes in waves, depending on the hauler.
Yep.
I wish it was more stable, but it changes.
Is there a revenue line increase as well in your proposal?
No, not currently.
Okay.
So there's no transfer station, you're not
Fee
proposing
increases.
fee increase for transfer station?
Correct. Yep, it's just the cost to us to dispose of the materials.
We are operating at a slightly different schedule as far as people working. We used to have 3 people on Saturdays. and now we're down to 2 most of the time. The 2 guys that are working there are happy to work just with 2 of them, so we are saving some with personnel costs.
And speaking of which, personnel may be a little high. I don't know if you want to, you can see the history, and through again, August, we're at 16,700, which is more, we're probably going to, be around in the low 20s, and we have 35 in there, so.
Yeah, I think that was funded considering, planning on 3 people when it was open,
Right.
but,
So
I think you could drop that back.
yeah.
to the 22, 23 would,
25, at
25.
least 25,
Okay.
if you care to.
sure.
Where to next?
Six.
We did a not yard,
That's
waste,
something.
landfill maintenance
Mhm.
at the bottom.
Right, so does this, that looks like there's a lot of things that aren't really here. So were you, Matt, were you okay with this? I know you were talking about doing some drainage, addressing some drainage over there.
Yeah, I still may be able to try to get that done this year,
Great.
so. Although, I'm still waiting to hear back from DEC. There's a letter into them right now asking what they want us to do as far as some of the gas issues or monitoring that we're doing.
Sure.
There is a possibility that they would ask us to do some work next year, which I have a design for, I just haven't done anything with it because we're waiting for their guidance.
Sure. Okay.
And we move into sewer district 1. Page 25.
So Matt, is there anything here that does not reflect what we discussed?
No, this is consistent with our previous meeting.
So if I look at 8120, the sewer maintenance crew,
That number needs to be updated, but I do not believe it's going to vary much and impact the budget.
you don't think it's going to vary much from, in
19.
17, we spent 118, in 18, we spent 113, 114. You don't think it's going to vary?
No, we've had a lot of turnover and a lot of young guys at the hiring rate. So it still needs to be updated, honestly, but I'm not too concerned about it.
Okay. You don't think it's going to be closer to 113?
I can let you know in the next couple days with your salary schedule detail.
That sounds like a great idea. Thank you.
The equipment capital outlay in 19, in 18 it was 25, went to 68, now we're back down to 20.
Yeah, that was my next question. So what happened here,
So it
Paul?
was guidance from, I believe, the State Comptroller's office, through Paul's office, that dictated where we could spend the 2,000 line. So a lot of the things that we thought, and historically, we would spend out of the 2,000 line for manhole frames and what we
The
consider
rings and-
long-term,
yeah.
long-term investments. The state doesn't see them as that, they see them as more, they're not, it's not a capital improvement. So if you see down, we took the 68,000 from the 2,000 line and moved a portion of it down to the 4120 line, which is where a lot of that stuff falls now in the miscellaneous.
Right.
So-
Okay,
To me, it's $200, $300 at a pop, but because it doesn't, there's a certain threshold, I think it was $5,000, Paul, that we can't bill it against the 2,000 line.
Okay. So then just go down to the bottom of that section there, the miscellaneous and contractual. So you just feel like, because you're going to be doing things differently, I just want to understand one more time. So we spent 22,
It's 4120 is the line, which is miscellaneous
Oh.
field and office supplies. That's the line.
right, so then I'm going down to the bottom there.
Okay,
Well, that 22 was kind of an anomaly, you know, you got
Oh,
a
I see.
6,500, 3,600. So we're more tracking it back at the 6,000.
Okay.
that was because the project that we had on Union Street.
On Christmas.
Yes.
Got it.
Christmas and the day after Christmas.
I know.
Oh, no, New Year's Day. Yeah, because it.
Was it New Year's Day?
Yeah.
I don't know,
carried
I was
over the
standing there
New
in the
Year's.
sand. All right, where are we going from here, gentlemen?
On the next page, the largest line of the budget, city connections, is flat. We're still waiting to get some kind of resolution with this, with the city.
That's sewer.
The city's, this contract's open, yeah.
Yeah?
But that's sewer, that's not water, that's not the water
Did I say
issue.
water?
No, I thought you meant, because we had some,
They're both,
Discussion.
both city contracts.
Right, but we're in the middle of a conversation,
been
so,
open for a while.
Oh, what do you, okay, where are you?
No, you're right. City connections.
where at City Connections, is that water or sewer?
It's sewer. We're in sewer
That's,
one.
okay, that's what I thought, but that's not the conversation we're having with the city, we're having this conversation with the city about water.
Both of the agreements are.
Okay, but that, the questionable one is water.
The more questionable one is water, yes.
More questionable.
Although this one just expired, there is a dispute over water.
Yes, there is.
Yes. And then the benefits section, you can see health insurance, we're getting some unfavorable news. Fortunately, we had a pretty healthy budget in 19, so it didn't hit impacts too greatly, but it's still up quite a bit from 18.
I'm sorry, where are you?
And under benefits, health insurance,
Okay.
right, the next section down.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see 52, 53 numbers from 16,
Right, to
17,
60.
and 18.
Yeah.
We jumped up to 60.
And that's actual, Paul, because I do
Yeah.
want to go back to that scintillating health insurance conversation that we had and are going to continue to have. So is this their portion of that health insurance number that you've given us as a huge budget driver, or is this a separate number?
This is,
Where you're saying that we're going to have a 15%,
This
we
is
think
the
maybe
same.
possibly, but we don't actually have actuals on the health insurance
this is sewer one's.
portion of the 15% increase on the health insurance.
And you can
Okay.
see we did really well in 16, 17, and 18, so, you know, eventually it's going to catch up with you. Many others went up, 5 to 10% over those 3 years, so
Okay,
we're
so
we're jumping.
do we think that you're going to be able to get actuals on this sooner rather than later? I don't know why we can't get actuals, right? I mean,
Every
we're a
year.
premium-based, plan, we
It's the
must,
same every year. So we're always pushing them for a number, and I can call,
no, that'd be great, because obviously this impacts the budget in a number of
Yeah.
places, so.
I told
if
them
it's-
that we really need it before, our preliminary budget's out, and they said they could comply with that, so.
So Yasmin referred, the supervisor said you had actuals in that big book of numbers over there. So do you have an actual for the health insurance? Did it really go from 52 to somewhere close to 59 right now? I mean, we got a couple months to go, so.
I don't have
that.
actuals with me in
Okay,
the sewer.
okay.
But I mean, I can get them, but no, I
No, I
don't.
know you can. So why don't we just add it to my long list of questions?
Yeah, the health insurance is the biggest issue this.
I know, everybody's wrestling with it, I understand that. It is not a criticism at all, it's just such a big number,
Oh, I know.
and I am hopeful that with actuals, we will have a different number, but it's not just the number where it's in one spot, it's in a variety of places.
Mhm.
So if it's a few thousand here, a few
And
tens of thousands somewhere else, is like, I could
So
really,
the rest of this budget is good news. The debt's all been refinanced and is in level debt service, so there's minor, $100 variance, but on 151,000. The other good news is that the risk retention was dropped because we're.
Yeah, I had a
our
question about that.
Our self-insured claims are more than adequately reserved, and we don't need to fund it, hopefully for the rest of eternity. That's,
really, we'll
that's a
never
long
have to
time.
do that again. I mean, it's only $2,000,
But
but,
that's just here, isn't that in other places, risk retention?
Yeah, it's
That's a-
throughout the budget. It's
throughout
adds
the
up to
budget.
This
about
is the-
50,000,
50.
about 50 overall. And the bad news for sewer one is that Matt gives me gallonage figures for the effluent that sewer 6 treats of sewer in sewer district number 1, and that number went up dramatically, and it.
right, so, I mean, that's really a transfer between
It is.
two different departments. I mean, it's not like there's an actual, but,
But it's high, it went up, and it's based on real flows, and
Yeah.
we have new pumps that are.
yeah, more effective and efficient.
More
Okay.
areas being served, too.
More areas being served.
It collects everything from Iroquois Village and that
Mhm.
area, and then
Oh, as
Harmon
we
Grove.
expand that, yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay.
that's getting larger.
So the volume's going up.
All right. So, when we go down to another line there, where you have provisions for reserves,
Yes,
Paul, and then you have 30, and then I go down a little bit more, the next thing where it says real property tax reserves, and you spend it, like, what is that $30,000?
it's $30,000 that
We take out of reserves?
we're putting into reserves,
We're putting into reserves there,
right.
and so then, are we putting the same or a different $30,000 in reserves if we go down to estimated revenues, or is that the same?
It's the same 30.
That's the same
It's shown on both
$30,000?
sides.
Okay,
It's just to balance it.
okay, so we're taking it from somewhere? From where?
Well, it's raised within the property taxes. I mean, it's just money that you could put somewhere else, but it was available to put in the reserves, so that was the decision on the tentative budget.
But we're putting it in the sewer District 1 reserves?
Correct.
Are we doing that in other places? I
I
didn't see a number that large.
In other funds like sewer 6 and water, there was not the ability to do that.
Okay, all right, so I still don't know where we got the ability, but okay.
Well, the one answer to that is our interest earnings have spiked dramatically. You can see.
Great, that's an excellent answer.
Down below. Yeah, we've really done well. We authorized investment in that NILAF liquid asset fund, and interest rates, as you know, are up slightly, not dramatically, but enough that we're starting to see some real returns.
Okay, where are we going next?
Next page, sewer 6.
So Matt, was there anything that jumped off the page to you here? I don't see a lot of.
No, it's pretty similar to what we talked about in that other meeting, and pretty flat year to year. Except for that one similar change that we mentioned earlier from 2000, 4120, that we did in Sewer 1, same idea in Sewer 6.
Yeah, the only adjustments in here are ones that were agreed upon in our internal meeting,
Are they?
unless I made a mistake, but leave that as an
Okay.
open option.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, they're small numbers, I'm just trying to figure them out, right? So 4120, you know, the actual in 2018 was 6,400, we're requesting 10,000, I'm just trying to, you know, figure out why, but that's not a lot of money, so we'll talk about it another time, when we need that last $4,000, $3,000. You want to go down to the heating fuel and the electricity numbers, Paul? Are these just, is there just a mistake in there?
Which one, where are you looking? Heating?
Heating fuel,
Yeah, on 29.
right, so if I look at 4210 and then 4220, I'm going to consistently look at the 18 actual number, just Paul, because it's an actual, and so that was 13, we went to 26, now we're at 20. I'm not quite sure
I
what.
don't know where you are, we're not,
I'm on,
Page 29.
we're on 28.
we're at 20,
Did you wipe
I know,
your
but I think we were done there, so we went
Okay.
down to 29, right, unless I'm
I wonder
missing
why we're
something.
having trouble, okay.
Okay,
Heating fuel, okay. Well, now we're in the actual, at the plant, so these numbers are much more difficult to project because we don't know when our cogeneration's coming on, you know. So we're gonna ultimately be, if all works out as planned, having a zero on the electricity line and heating fuel as well.
okay, you
So
think
we
that's going to
tried
happen this
to
year?
kind of scale back a little, depending on the phase-in of the bio-waste and our methane production, but Matt, do you have anything to add? I mean, it was a real, we don't have a lot of history.
No, and it depends on the waste that it's processed. The digesters are online, digester 1 is online, 2 is coming online right now. The chemistry looks very good for producing methane.
So if you're looking at 18 actual, that's a bad year to look at because we were off.
Is that an actual is my question, that's why.
No, we were
Right.
Yeah.
offline. That was a very disruptive year. The digesters were taken down.
Yeah, there was a lot of,
You can't use that year.
no, it wasn't a typical year. A lot,
Look at
equipment was
17.
being replaced. We were making the plant run, but it was running during construction, so
Right,
it wasn't running efficiently.
So you have to look at 16 and 17 to get some real valid data.
yeah, it just jumped off the page of me, so I just wanted
Yeah,
to
that's
try
why.
to understand it.
The
So you're
whole
keep-
operation was.
Keeping those numbers where they are, hoping that
Worst case, this is worst case.
worst case.
Yeah, this gives us some options. It's planning on some level of methane production.
And then, I'm sorry, I am going to jump back up because I do. Matt, I feel like we had a conversation about this, but I cannot remember right now. That asphalt number, that 4415? Is that,
Previous page?
Back up
yeah,
to
I did say,
28.
we're going to go back up, I'm sorry, I missed the asphalt number. So I'm just trying to figure out exactly where we are in this. Is
In
it,
18.
so it was 33, then
We
we
had- we had that-
50,
We had
and,
that sewer repair on Union Street, which required paving.
okay, so a lot of these big numbers are just throwing us off because of that one.
Yeah, we had.
Right, and we're going to have a couple of these, we're going to have Trottingham, things that are just going to throw us off. Okay, that was all, as long as I just remember.
Typically, in a normal year, the asphalt used in the sewer districts is limited to the small amount that you use around a manhole when you rebuild it. It's not large-scale paving.
Okay,
As long as we're going back up there
We're
on
good.
28, I'm sorry, we got the field office, that's Supplies, that's the 1120 where you're moving those numbers again.
Right,
yeah.
Went to 45, but you took it off the other column. We skipped over that a little bit.
Yep.
And before we got down to the 29. Same sort of
What's your
stuff.
question, Bill?
No, I'm just clarifying that's why those numbers are big changes.
Going to 4650 sludge disposal. Where are we on the sludge dryer?
Meeting scheduled for, just after the 1st of December with a company to come in to evaluate the dryer and to test it and make recommendations. They've committed, they've locked in a price for their evaluation and schedule us.
But if it says need to be replaced, if it's not fixable, what would the price be? It's going to be more than the $72,000?
That's just for the hauling of sludge and disposal. That's just for the disposal.
It's for the disposal.
Okay.
Dried sludge.
But the dryer repair, is that in this budget or a replacement of the dryer? It needs to be, so that's not in the budget. And what are we looking for if that needs to happen?
It's on the capital projects and
We
equipment.
just got
Okay.
this here today.
Okay, so it's in what we just
Capital
got today?
projects.
Yep.
Okay. And what's that?
75.
Being that I just got it, I haven't had a chance to look at it. What's this number here?
75,000.
75,000. Okay, so that's in addition to the 72,000
That would be for a repair.
Repair.
Yeah.
repair. And if it does need to be replaced, do we have a number yet for that?
We have a number.
We have a ballpark, but I don't think we're at that point yet. I think there still is useful life in that piece of equipment.
Okay,
I wouldn't want to throw it out at this point. I think we can still salvage it and get some more use out of it.
Great.
okay, thank you.
Well, roughly the number is 1.2 million. If we can put 75 in and get 3 to 5 years out of it, it's probably a good investment.
Well, that was evaluated prior to even beginning to work at the plant, and it was decided not to replace that because they felt that piece of equipment,
It was evaluated
maintained.
internally. We never got an outside specialist to look at it.
Well, it's-
Former plant operator, I mean, they had done extensive O&M on it, so they felt that they had replaced all the wearable parts that were necessary to be replaced. I think there's some more additional work that needs to be done to make it run efficiently and safe.
Okay, it's helpful to know, for long-term planning, if we're going to be looking at expense like that in the next 3 years or so.
I think 3 to 5 years, you're reaching the useful life of that equipment from the manufacturer's.
Yeah, and
Standpoint.
we'll have a much better plan once we have this meeting in December.
Okay, thank you.
So this document that we were just given at about 5 o'clock, where are these numbers in here, Paul?
Those are all proposed bonding, basically.
Yeah, this is separate. These were separate schedules that were submitted as part of the budget process.
Their requests throughout there, so.
Correct. Yeah, so-
That's not reflected anywhere in here.
Right.
And I know in the beginning of the budget, there's a couple of references to capital projects, capital reserve fund. That's
Correct.
not incorporated in here at all.
Just operating.
Sure, okay, I just wanted to make sure I didn't,
Yeah, this document doesn't have any impact on this document.
okay.
It will in 2021 when you pay
Correct.
debt.
When I have to
Right.
pay the debt.
Yeah, later impact.
Okay.
Deferred.
But we're not going to do any,
thought about.
we're not going to include any cash for capital in here, or any deferred maintenance, or any of those things that have been discussed over the,
Well, there's some capital improvement lines in here, but not much.
Yeah.
I mean, there's-
bills,
We just
2,400.
went by collection systems, there's 23,000,
Right,
Right.
they're here and there, but not millions.
no, I mean, stuff that he can pay for that out of his own. Okay, where we go next?
If we're done with treatment, we'll go, we're on the benefits, again, increase in health insurance, a little more dramatic, larger portion of the crew is assigned to sewer 6. Level debt and elimination of the transfer to risk retention for the comp. So it's kind of the same same thing.
Okay. So, and again, you're going to get us actuals on these health insurance numbers, and it's going to impact throughout it. Okay. All right,
If you want to look at revenues.
I would love to do that.
Interest earnings is up dramatically. More money in sewer six in fund balance to work with. And the big number is septic fees, that's the bio waste.
Yeah.
Oh, I did, that's. I actually put together a projection of the bio waste revenues. And it begins acceptance of a second through fourth vendor beginning in April of 20 after the pilot program's over.
Right.
And introducing one a month. I shared it with ESG and they didn't ever respond, actually, did they?
No,
I think they did.
not yet.
Yeah.
They didn't respond, but I did have a conversation with them, and based on my conversation, then the projection actually came out more in the 660,000 range, and their initial projections were upwards of 800,000, so it is not
Right.
full scale. The
Right.
supervisor brought it back from my projection of 650 to 530. What it ends up being is ultimately decided based on the contracts you enter into and, you know,
Sure.
and the rate per gallon. They gave me an average rate per gallon, and I do have that schedule, but let's see. I don't have it with me, but it did incorporate all of our discussions and that phone conversation we had where they gave us some, you know, guidance on the potential
Right.
as far as rates and gallonage.
Right, right. 4 cents, 8 cents. You know, they repeated that, you know, they didn't know what we had the will for.
Right. And
So they think that, I think they think our numbers are a little high.
the 530?
Yeah, all of the numbers, the 208, the,
The 208s were very high because we're
Right.
still in the pilot
Right,
program.
right,
The pilot
so-
program, you know, we, back a year ago, thought this pilot program was gonna be done a long time ago.
Right.
And we'd be accepting waste right now. That's where you can't get 208 from a pilot program.
definitely not.
So, yes, the 208 is gonna be more like 5 to 10.
In 19. So why are we putting 530 in there?
Because as of April, we can start phasing in additional suppliers.
So do you think that that's a good number to be using? Perhaps we need to go to a number that's maybe about half that.
Well, you can do that. We're already into 170,000 of fund balance, but yes, you can do that, or you can raise.
I don't
you can
know
raise
what the
rate.
answer is, but I think that that's
Yeah.
a pretty lofty number, and I look at big
Right.
fans of the wastewater treatment plant sitting behind you right now, who are gonna go home and sharpen their pencil, and,
Well, so if you do that, that's fine. I can do all that, so.
I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is. I guess we need probably a little bit more information, you know?
Well, it seems like the conversation's only just begun,
Yeah,
and
this is a tentative budget.
Right.
It was set in a way that is accomplishable, but, and doesn't impact the rate or, and it even does increase the appropriation of fund balance. So the only way to back that off is to increase fund balance utilization and/or change the rate, the unit rate and/or the treatment rate, the semi-annual treatment rate. So those are the options. We can shift things around and balance the budget another way. I can do that.
So I think what might be helpful is if you put the two options forward so that we can circulate that internally and we could see if you don't increase the rate, it equals X appropriation of fund balance, or conversely, if we drop the septage fee, anticipated revenue, what amount of rate increase would that amount to?
And then you can vary it between the treatment
Right.
charge and the unit charge.
Right. Right, because that's essentially the only way to bridge that gap here at this point, would be either of those two things, would be increased fund balance appropriation or increased
charge or
unit
treatment.
charge or
Right.
treatment fee.
There's three
Correct.
sources of revenue.
Right, so that's, the intention of this was to keep those variables level, because we don't want to increase rates. But at the same time, we also have to have a discussion internally as to what, what we're comfortable with in terms of this septage fee revenue projection.
And we definitely missed 19 entirely, but I think 20 is more realistic, is actually achievable, because we know the pilot program's going to end.
Right.
We didn't know when it was going to end a year ago, and I don't even know why it took so long to start, but it just did.
Right.
I think folks were concerned about what they were
Yeah,
reading in the paper. So,
okay.
so far, we've got the 208 number in here that if we hit half that, 1/3 of that, that will be,
Well, we're getting, I don't know, how many deliveries do we have from Pepsi so far?
We don't have a ton, but we're set up.
6? How many do we get?
We're 4.
8? 4?
Yeah.
That's $1,000 that we have to date.
right, well, I'm
If you
just
get-
trying to,
you know, if
I'm
you get 2 a
backing
week,
into
it's
19, we've budgeted 208, so that already gives us a huge,
Yeah. that's-
whole.
That's an appropriation fund balance.
we've.
And that was with a fee
miscalculated-
increase,
Well,
even.
the 208 was for.
The 208 wasn't with
haulers.
the fee increase, that's separate.
That's hauler, that's
Right.
bio waste
Right.
that we're not getting.
That was the 350 you originally had, that we bumped down to 208.
Yeah.
After Kevin got up. And then we have the number that we have to hit somehow for the yard waste fee that we did not implement. So
Right.
we've got two pretty big holes here. Okay.
Well, the offset is taxes or other fees, it's, or fund balance. Yeah, I don't, at 250 a load and, 500 a week, 1,000 a week, there's not enough weeks to come close to 10,000 even.
No,
What was
you're-
allowed in the
you're
pilot?
limited.
What was allowed in the pilot program?
What is it?
Well,
Five trips a week.
Our contract is for.
5 trucks a week, yeah.
5 trucks.
And they're just not, they're not bringing it,
25,000
right?
gallons.
Right.
Pepsi's not bringing it, they're not,
They are ramping up to begin again. They stopped because they changed haulers and decided to do it internally rather than using outside haulers. So they're gearing up, they're ready to go. And we actually started feeding the Pepsi into our digesters today.
So 5 a week.
The pilot is technically going right now.
Okay.
So
All right.
we really just got started with the pilot.
It's only a 90-day pilot.
Hmm.
It's a short pilot.
well,
The plant is ready to begin accepting the waste.
Okay.
The delay that Pepsi had was somewhat beneficial for us as far as the operation of the plant, too. Give a
Right.
chance for the plant to be ready rather than rushing it. I prefer having the plant happy before we start feeding it, and
Yeah.
which it is now.
Great.
Good.
Okay. I'm hoping to find better news on another page, so you're
Okay.
going to move along?
Yeah, this was a tough budget. There's a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah, I just don't know how we got to where we
Well-
got, so we're going to,
I guess the parameters were keep the unit charge the same, keep the treatment charge the same, and come up with a number that uses not too much excessive fund balance, And that's what, and 530 is achievable. It is, granted, it does
right, but we're
require-
already 200 in the hole.
Well, the 200 in the hole is history. I mean, that's, you can't do anything about that.
Yeah, but we want a realistic number, right? You're gonna go.
Right.
I don't think 530 is unrealistic, honestly. I wouldn't, I think 650 is realistic.
I do, we thought it was gonna be
Yeah, I don't
200
think
this
that,
year. and we
right,
didn't
Paul,
get
I
there.
don't
The
think that,
delay.
I don't think anybody thinks that's a realistic number, so let's just try to put our heads
All
back
right,
together.
that's-
and
it's up to the
Yeah.
board.
And we also have a guarantee, keep in mind, as part of the contract.
Yeah, we have to
So-
pay, if you don't raise more than, you know, the first, what is it, 50 to 75,000 is just to pay the administrative costs.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a
Well,
lot
they've
of
certainly been
factors.
working. I mean, it's not like
Yeah.
these folks haven't been working. I mean, it's been stopped, fits and starts, because they really can't get a handle on what it is that their directive is and what we want, so. All right, so the next page?
Water,
Water, water, water everywhere.
cleaner tub.
So, at the top of water, the 1,000 line,
Mhm.
what's that big bump from, I'm going to look at 18 again, right?
That's throughout, you know, that's in the top section of the, both the sewer funds and the water fund. That's the general, that's the allocation from the salary schedule that you're gonna get. It's all the administrative people that are allocated to the special districts.
Okay.
Which aren't, wait, they're not all who you would think. I mean, there's, everybody in town has a
He's
lot of
going to
different-
give us that, we've asked that, you missed that. Okay. Right, because everybody seems to have a piece of that. Matt, is there anything here that is not in line with what you were hoping for?
There's one line, and
Yeah,
it's the 2,000 line, which we had put in for well redevelopment.
okay, are you done with that top section?
Oh,
I did
sorry.
this before to everybody too, so I'm sorry, I'm gonna be better about not jumping around.
Top is.
The top is fine. Some of that, it looks, I don't know, it looks like it is what it is. So then, I think you're gonna say what I'm gonna say. Paul, where's the well redevelopment money?
It's supposed to be in the capital project, but I don't think it was put in at the right,
Okay.
No.
We've never done it this
40,000?
way.
yeah, it's 40.
I didn't ask for 40.
No, so that number needs
Okay.
revision.
What'd you ask
So
for?
it's 100.
Looks like 100,000.
Yeah.
That's a big difference.
All right,
Well, that's yet to be bonded, so it's,
so we're gonna bond the well redevelopment money?
well, you can put it in the budget, but the budget already is appropriating $92,000. So if you put it in the budget, you're just taking it out of fund balance. It's an option to put it back in.
I don't know, I mean, we really didn't do it this way in the past, so, but I thought we were gonna try to do less of that, so, all right, so he wants 100, not 40,
Right.
Yeah, so that changes this schedule over here.
yeah. I mean, this is just something, I think it's very important, I think it's,
I think, well, the redevelopment is extremely important.
right, I thought we're all in
Yeah.
the same mind on,
Absolutely.
you know, we need to be more
Yeah.
self-reliant, not less,
It
and
needs to
this,
be done. You don't want to lose the wells. It's.
right,
it's
and if we
essential.
don't do them, then,
If you go beyond, go too far, then they're not
Yeah.
able to come back.
We
All
gotta
right,
keep
so-
producing our own water.
so we are not gonna have it just in the regular budget, we are going to offset, we're not gonna have the well redevelopment in the regular budget.
If you put it in, we need to come up with the 100,000. We're already in the 92,000 of fund balance. We can do that. It's fine with me,
Okay, well,
but
it sounds like we're a lot more into that than what
the
we just
water,
talked
the
about.
water fund balance is dropping rapidly because we're not meeting our revenue projections. So we can get to that conversation, but that's why I had a reluctance to put that much in the budget, given that the fund balance is being eaten away. But.
So the fund balance is being eaten away to balance
We did
with
meet
these
our
other, some
revenue.
of these numbers that are just really high and we know we're not gonna hit, so
We're not
we're,
making our revenues, and
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
conversation that we're gonna get to when we get to revenues, but,
Mm-hmm.
and we're already appropriating 92,000, and if we put another 100 in there, it's, you know, you could probably do
Yeah.
it for a year. if
we're
not-
we're at least we're much higher than 92,000, you keep saying 92,000, but, okay. All right, so we'll put this on this list and we'll talk about it later?
Yep.
Okay. But we're in agreement, 100 for well redevelopment?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Where do you want to go now, Paul? Brad, anybody? Ray's really glad he was the first one here.
Are you, you're through with source of supply? We kept the payment to the city flat, that's another negotiation.
Right, we don't know the answer to that, right? They want a
Yep.
meeting, so, okay.
Everything else is as requested and pretty much on track. Engineering services, that was a one-timer at the bottom, that dropped, the 31.
I'm sorry, let's go back to that number for the
Where are you?
city. Are you basing that number on the city on what, the back and forth, the current back and forth? Or you're basing that number to the city on something else? I mean, because it's a lot higher than what it was in
Well, there's a.
2018, and we haven't had any increase, because we haven't negotiated that.
Well, there is an automatic increase in it that's being applied every year, even
Yeah.
though we haven't negotiated. We're going
Okay.
on the
There was like
expired
a-
contract. There's an.
Or the
a
expired,
cost of
right.
living. Yeah, they
So,
go
yeah.
by.
So we're still building in the COLA in the expired
We're
contract.
honoring the expired.
Okay,
contract.
that was my question. You put it better than I did. Thank you. So we think that number is,
In the ballpark.
okay.
We did in 17 break, we went over our minimum
Yeah.
requirement, and we're watching that closer now, so that's why we can get closer to 850.
Okay.
We're producing more water from our own.
From our wells, from our developed wells.
Yes.
Okay,
So
great.
that's the reason for 17 being almost 900,000. That really shouldn't have happened, but it did.
Okay.
We did save a little energy in producing the water,
Yeah,
but not to
chemical.
offset
Yeah.
that much.
No.
We're better off producing our own water.
Get back to that, you've got minimums you've got to get from the
Yes.
city?
Yeah, we have a commitment to purchase a minimum, and it's at that, right around that 850 mark. So we're only budgeting for the minimum. And we're capable, Matt, right,
We
of
can
of
produce more.
producing what?
We can
We-
produce
we-
more.
We, because of contractual requirements, we balance it out and end up slowing down how much we produce towards the end of the year, just so that we buy our minimum. from the
Right.
state.
Is that
Don't buy the
negotiable,
minimum. We
the
have to pay
minimum?
them The minimum.
It's in the contract.
But is the contract negotiable?
It's
If
been
it
open.
sits on to the table.
Yeah,
it would be.
It is right now,
Well,
because
we
it's
had-
not done.
The one year when we were doing a lot of well development and we had to ramp up our production, so we weren't going to buy more water than we wanted to from the city. It's based on a year's
Right.
contract.
It's a year,
time.
yeah. So we get to middle of the year, well, now the guys are checking it once a month, see where we are progressing along. Once we hit a certain point in the fall, because you never know how much you're going to need because of how dry the summer is.
Right.
So once we get through the summer, then we decide how much we need to slow down our production so that we buy our minimum. We don't want to buy more than we need to, because we can produce it cheaper than we can buy it.
So in a contract negotiation, do you want to lower that amount?
I would like to see that, yes.
And they want us to buy more.
Right, they want us to buy all the water from them.
Yeah.
Correct.
It's not going to happen.
So we end up keeping it where it is and raising the rate every year. And it doesn't go up by much. It's the typical Labor Department, Northeast, non-seasonally adjusted.
Are we changing the rate, though, we bill customers? We
There's
haven't in a
no
while.
proposal to change the rate.
No, so we're increasing how much we pay the city, but we're not necessarily,
I mean,
I'm
that's,
aware of that.
again, if you're willing to increase the rate, we can build the well redevelopment in, we can reduce fund balance, we can do lots of things.
Huh? I may be willing to do a lot of things if I had a cleaner document. All right, where are we going from here?
Where did we go? Purification, did we get to that? Pretty boring. The next, yeah, purification's pretty flat. Transmission, we bumped up the miscellaneous field supply line and reduced equipment, consistent with the other two budgets. Other than that, engineering services, I don't know what we were planning on.
We were doing the pressure study. That was the
Oh.
the pressure study, and we're replacing water main.
Okay.
And the cost
So
of
that's over.
engineering is usually rolled into the contract for the project, not, we don't pay for engineering separately. We usually get the approval to do the usually bonding for the water main replacement, and the cost of the engineering is part of that project, not a separate budget line. So we, I mean, it's,
So what about drainage and a drainage study?
that would be on, that would be in the,
Other, the general?
yeah, it would be in
Okay.
storm sewers.
Yep,
in
okay.
engineering.
Next
Well, where
page.
is that number? Oh,
You want to go to storm sewers?
sure.
Okay.
I would love nothing more.
That was back on 16.
We started, isn't it?
Where was it? Oh, 14. We were at the bottom of 14.
Right?
Yeah, so you want to put some engineering services money in there?
I don't know. What are we doing?
The question is, there's no money in engineering services, and we're talking about doing a drainage study.
Drainage. Okay, there is nothing in there. What,
That would-
how
that would
much,
where you
did you
would want it.
propose something in there?
I don't have a figure at this moment.
But we did, he did have, you don't have a number?
I don't see any,
Where's the
I've used his numbers. There's no line.
There's no line, there's no line there.
There's not a line for it, and you didn't write one in, but, no, it wasn't, it just,
I had miscellaneous contractual.
it didn't, I guess this is a fault of the budget projection. If it suppresses zero lines, so in 19, there was a zero budget, and it didn't list as a line for him to put a number in, and Matt didn't fill a number in voluntarily,
I had 1,500 for miscellaneous.
and it's there.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking about engineering services specifically.
Mhm.
So if you want to add something, we can do that. You don't have a number, though?
Not offhand, not that I remember.
Well, there's a lot of numbers that are going to have to be moved around here, so can you come up with a number for the
Yes. Yep.
drainage study? Fantastic.
Rich had one, it was $1 million.
Exactly.
This is more concise.
Actually, it was more than $1 million. Oh, the work, the study itself. The work was multi-million. Okay, where did we go? Were we on water benefits, I think? So again, same story.
Where are we going?
34?
34
34.
benefits, the same story. Health insurance is up. Debt's relatively flat, and workers' comp reserve is no longer funded. Not too exciting.
All right.
Revenues, so in revenues, the water rents line, that fourth line down is the problem line. We budgeted 3 million in 19, and we're not going to get to that,
Why did it go
definitely.
so high compared to 18?
You know,
So we, like 16 was 3.3.
Yeah. I think
2.7, 2.3, it's going down, and we're projecting it to go the other way in 19, and
it didn't work out very well.
people aren't using as much water.
I think I was talking to Matt about it, I think now that there's a compounded effect of using water and you get a higher sewer treatment bill, there's more conservation now than ever.
Well, there's an effort to conserve water, and people do that,
Well,
right?
more so
But I
now
don't think
than
I
this
mean,
is
it also-
water conservation
Depends
that's going
on
from
weather, right?
It
You
does.
got a very dry summer, people might be
2.3 to-
watering.
One thing that may help, we've identified our highest consumers, the majority of them which are commercial or industrial. And we had that credit from Neptune water meters, $55,000, which we used to purchase the parts to replace or rebuild those meters. So I have 47 rebuild kits and meters for the 47 highest consumers. That will help to get some more revenue by increasing the efficiency of the meters. Some of them, since they've been installed, have seen over, I think, one was, what did I tell you? 300 million gallons of water had gone through it. So we have a software package that will look at the useful life of the meter, the number of gallons that have gone through it, and do a cost-benefit analysis and tell you which ones you should replace in your payback. So these have been identified. They were of no cost to us, so I've got John Jackson.
So we can get $600,000 from that, and we're golden.
No, well, it will help, it will help have us go in the right direction at least. And then we have to look in the next few years to start thinking about the new meters that are in there, new, are 10 years old now. So we need to start looking at changing them out as we go through. And the commercial meters are the oldest ones, we did those first.
So Paul, for water rents, that's another one, if you could write down on the list of things we probably need an actual for. Because if we were at 2.3, 2.4, we went to 3, and
Yeah, the
we're
only
going to go to
problem with it is,
2.8, I don't know if that number is a reliable number.
and we don't get a reliable number because there's such a lag on the billing. so
Right, the
we
6
won't-
months, so we won't have that.
it.
So,
That's why it is very difficult to project. And then additionally, Matt was telling me we lost a huge amount of revenues from OD Heck after 17, and we don't know, according to Laura, there's no reason for it, so.
Well, she's saying there are vacant buildings there now.
Some vacant building, but nothing to the magnitude of what we experienced.
no, I think there's a thought that OD Heck is empty. It's not. I mean, there's people there.
Right, and our revenues dropped more than 90%, and it was a huge customer before, hundreds of thousands of dollars, just gone.
Disappeared.
Gone, for no
Do you
obvious
think there's a
reason.
mistake? You think someone else is,
I think there may have been some
Here, do you find
different
it?
use over there.
right?
It's less residential, I think, now. That may be part of the reason why, but.
There
that's
wasn't
one
a lot. I mean, there's some bungalows. I don't.
of-
So it needs some further
Yeah, so that-
investigation.
that's
All
one
right.
of that is one of the meters that's on our list as well, to rebuild.
So because of the lag and really big swings, the OD Heck and General Electric's
Electric,
dropped
yeah.
dramatically, it's really impacted us. And you couple that with the lag, and it just messes you up.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
going back even 5 years ago, GE, talking with them, they're very big on conservation right now.
Sure.
So they're conserving, and they, I think some of the activities have changed over there as well. So when you have a huge user like that and they change what they do, you can see it in the budget.
Yeah.
Okay.
No good news there.
So,
Well, good news, interest earnings is up, down below.
That's good news.
You know, I really think we're approaching the time for a rate increase, but, you know, I always say that, so. But it's
A
been
water
flat.
rate increase?
It's been flat for a while,
well, we did sewer last year.
both water and sewer. Our costs go up every year.
Okay.
There was one thing we went by that I wanted to go back to if we could.
Bless you.
That's it.
Sewer 6. Treatment 29. Our water rents, our recyclers back online, correct?
Yes, yes.
So that 12,000 probably is much higher than it needs to be, isn't it? Or-
I would say so, yes, because we are now using the recycled water from the plant for a lot of the other, for the washing and during the construction.
So,
That number's
what are we gonna
all
put
over-
it down to, Paul?
The number's
2?
all over the place, but
I know, I'm a little reluctant to go too far down. I mean, it was
Well, I think-
60 in 2018.
And that's when we were using
Wait, so-
entirely
right.
fresh water and no
Yeah.
recycle. So I don't know if, Matt, if you can look at it and give me a number. If it's right, it's right. But I just left it flat, not knowing, but I saw
Sure.
it afterwards. And
That it could be somewhere we could save $10,000, as opposed to what we
we
discovered tonight.
use primarily recycled water.
Yeah,
But he's
Other than
got
that, it's
some-
Flushing toilets and, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Or
you
you
know,
gonna say 0?
I think 2,000 would be,
I just said 2,000,
yeah.
and then you still fought with me. See, even when I agree with you. Okay,
I don't know.
I don't know the answer either, Paul, but
I don't want to.
Matt's gonna tell us.
I'm just identifying a number we can reduce.
Okay.
Right?
So Paul, where are we now? It's about 20 to 7. We have to have finance, and Ray has sat here for 2 hours. So we need to figure another day for Ray, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, Ray is going to be
I
at
was-
least
I
this
was
long.
hoping we were breaking these two departments up, because I know from history that each of them is best on
I
their
think
own
some
together,
years, most years, we've done them, just the two of them together.
and not
that's-
anyone else.
What?
And
Just one session, just the two of them, right? Or somebody like Bill Lawrence or something.
and not had a restriction on another meeting. And
No, I know, Paul, so. All right, what else, where else do you want to go here? But
Or whatever your pleasure. I'm ready for finance if you want to jump into it.
you're ready for finance. So maybe you and I could talk and we
Yeah.
can figure out, because we still
do
have
that.
to do, obviously, Ray is an hour easily into himself.
Yeah.
We
I
have
know-
the
I didn't-
chief, which is a lot of big numbers, but it's not a lot of breakout. And we have to get, I have questions about revenue. I just have questions about the couple pages of the budget, so. But maybe that'll give you more time to get this health insurance number. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm a little concerned after this session about some of these numbers, so. And so
Those
then
big-
what would
those
be the
big
next?
numbers.
They're big numbers, yeah.
Yeah.
So then what are we thinking would be the next step? We need Ray, and we need to go through this with Ray, and then are you going to be able to give us a budget that is more reflective of what we think some of these numbers actually are?
Well, yeah, I've already made changes along the way.
Right, you're sitting there with the computer, right? So, you know, it's not $600,000 from the wastewater treatment plant. It's not, you know, we didn't get 280 this year, like just that kind of stuff. You're going to be able to give us, okay?
Well, as Jasmine said, some options on different,
Right, but we have to
rating-
fix the
rating
numbers, but
approaches.
then we also,
Yeah.
right, and then you could give us a variety of options, and I think that's sort of what,
Yeah. Yeah, as we move towards the preliminary, certainly we need to hone in. And as we're getting revised projections even about health insurance, a lot of these numbers are going to change. So the ones we've identified this evening, certainly we're going to have to look at.
yeah.
And then also provide projections for 2019 for the other specified lines.
Sounds great. All right.
Okay.
So, Ray, we apologize to you. We know that you were ready. You came ready.
Sorry, yeah, you just sat there and we're out of time.
Okay.
We're going to stay here,
Stay
down
right
here,
here.
the supervisors decided.
Yeah, we'll just continue with finance right here.
Can somebody make sure there's nobody upstairs thank you to waiting for that to be up there.
Well, can
Thank
somebody
you.
else go? Don't you have questions to answer in this meeting?
I'm fine with
I don't,
the broadcast.
I wish them all well.
Nobody typically gets to see finance, right?